here, and the rise of Skywalker. We've been talking about it pretty much every week since it came out. About a month ago, I've been talking about it. First, I went to see the rise of Skywalker, Star Wars, by the way, for the uninitiated. I went and saw the rise of Skywalker, and I didn't like it. The second time I went to see the rise of Skywalker was under protest, and I didn't not like it. But this week we had some very special news that Colin Trevorrow, the original director for Episode 9, he got fired, was replaced by J.J. Abrams. He wrote a complete screenplay that was turned in to Disney before he was supposed to direct Episode 9. He was going to write and direct Episode 9, but a few days later, Carrie Fisher died. It turns out in that screenplay, Carrie Fisher was very important. Princess Leia, her character, General Leia, was very important. And so I guess there was a shakeup. Colin Trevorrow and Kathleen Kennedy didn't like each other. Something happened. There was a fist fight. There was a knockdown, drag out in the streets. People were covered in mud when this happened. I'm imagining. And what happened is Colin Trevorrow said, "Screw you guys. I'm going home." Or something. Or he got fired. Probably got fired. Because Disney does not have a good record for keeping directors. Welcome, Cara Malod. Welcome to the chat. Remember, you guys can toss in your 2 cents at any point, and we can chat. This week I'm going to be chatting about Colin Trevorrow's unproduced script for Star Wars Episode 9, entitled Duel of the Fates. I mean, how fucking cool is that? That is a cool title. Duel of the Fates is a much better title than Rise of Skywalker because many reasons. If this is your first time here, guys, remember you can always subscribe right away, like this, and before you even think of chatting in the chat room, just like the stream because it helps out. If you can find the like button somewhere, like. What's up, Will? Is this Will? You are a stalwart throttler. Thank you for showing up. Wakes up from nap after finishing a long hour-long video critique. I got you. We're all here in this together now. We're talking about Star Wars, the unproduced script, Duel of the Fates. I'm very excited to talk about this, actually. Because as you know, if you've been watching, following along Aristotle Full Throttle, if you're a fan, you've noticed my opinions on the last few sequel trilogy of the Star Wars movies. Good title. Listen, we're going to talk about that. But before we talk about it, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Go on the Patreon, throw in $2 a month. Help me pay for this expensive coffee so that I can stay awake. Guys, you're going to have to bear with me. I was sick last week. I'm even sicker this week. I don't know how that happens. I think I just get sicker by the day. But this mug keeps my coffee hot, and that's the most important thing in life. Duel of the Fates. That's what we're talking about today, guys. Very excited. First things first. Let me adjust this microphone. Hello, is this thing on? Again, bear with the congestion. Condemnation. Duel of the Fates is also one of the best pieces of music in cinema history, in my humble opinion. I agree with you. Duel of the Fates was that operatic piece during the final showdown between Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Maul in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Probably one of the coolest lightsaber duels in the entire canon of Star Wars. Very exciting. For better or for worse, George Lucas had some really good ideas, really cool stuff. One of my favorite parts about that scene, also in addition to the soundtrack of that very intense that whole thing, you know what I'm talking about? When they're like, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what they're singing. It sounds like I can't sing to begin with. I double can't sing with a cold. In Britain, you never stop being sick. Yes. In my body, you never stop being sick. Apparently. Yeah, I kind of forgot this was a weekly thing this year. I actually watched two people's videos crapping on Rise of Skywalker. Listen, The Rise of Skywalker felt like what it was, which was a movie that was thrown together in a year after firing a writer and director and after one of the key cast members dies, and you were not going to replace that cast member because that would have been crazy backlash. Imagine if they replaced Carrie Fisher as General Leia with a different actor. I mean, there probably would have been people would have just been, you know what? I think it might have even been better. One of the cool things about Star Wars Duel of the Fates is the opening crawl. Right away, I'm sure you can Google it. It's so much better than even the first line of The Rise of Skywalker, J.J. Abrams' script, is the dead speak, or whatever. Lame. It feels like it's explaining so much, that opening crawl, but the opening crawl for Duel of the Fates by Colin Trevorrow felt a little bit more like exciting. Like, I want to know what happens now. I gotta find out what happens. Let's find that opening crawl actually. Let's talk about it. Let's parse it. I'm gonna reach over. Opening crawl. Let's see. I'm sure it's all over the place. Duel of Fates. The iron grip of the First Order. Right away, that feels like, oh no, what are we gonna do? The iron grip of the First Order. Oof. We're in for it now, aren't we? Has spread to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Only a few scattered planets remain unoccupied. Traitorous acts are punishable by death. Okay, no hope left, right? You've got the first original Star Wars movie, Episode 4, A New Hope. You're like, okay, maybe something's going to happen. Right now, we're like, this is dire. Determined to suffocate a growing unrest, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, that updates us, reminds us of where Kylo Ren's at from the last one, The Last Jedi, has silenced all communication between neighboring systems. All right, so now they're like choking off any kind of communication between the systems. Led by General Leia Organa, okay, maybe there's hope. This is the family saga, so you got Kylo Ren, now the mom. The Resistance has planned a secret mission to prevent their annihilation and forge a path to freedom. So there's the hope. There is the hope. Already, I'm stoked. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's happening. And it just feels a little bit less descriptive than like, the Emperor's back, and now you gotta fight the Emperor for no reason. I think they just needed a big bad for Episode 9, and J.J. Abrams, listen, something about J.J. Abrams, he can provide entertainment value. He does not provide as much cinematic value. He's kind of like a Michael Bay, but a more tolerable Michael Bay. I'm locked and loaded with criticism, but wake up, Will. Get some coffee. Get your coffee. I got my coffee. We'll cheers. We'll plow through this together. I need a nap. I slept for like 24 hours, and I'm still kind of like ready to die. I have the plague, guys. I'm dying of plague. I have not watched season 2 of Clone Wars yet. I will get to it though. I promise. I'll put it on fast forward because Yoda with a lightsaber. I can't deal with Yoda with a lightsaber. It doesn't make any sense to me. The death cycle. Rise of Skywalker was a good cap to the Ben Solo story. Well, yeah. But I think the ultimate redemption story, if you look at Duel of the Fates, and it kind of actually works in Rise of Skywalker also, but Leia is ultimately the one to redeem. The Force Awakens, Leia says, bring our son home. That's the mission she sends Han Solo on. So maybe by Rise of Skywalker, Leia is putting that vision in Ben Solo's head, or Kylo Ben, his head, so that he can be redeemed and all of them can sort of fulfill the redemption of Kylo Ben Solo, which I think, I mean, it kind of works. Kind of works the way it is. The first silent segment of Kylo in Rise of Skywalker is basically what I hoped prequels would show Vader doing Terminator-style fashion, since they spread through and tossed away a chance to make legend. All right. I feel you on that. It's pretty cool to see a Sith or a Jedi go apeshit. However, I'm never really into any action sequence unless there are stakes. So if Kylo Ren is just laying waste to a bunch of no-name people, it's just kind of visual noise, unless there are stakes, unless something is happening. And there are pretty cool lightsaber duels in The Rise of Skywalker. I would just have to say, the lightsaber duel across space-time or whatever, where Rey is in Kylo Ren's quarters and Kylo Ren is on that planet, and they see each other and they actually have a physical altercation. I thought that was pretty cool. And it felt like, uh-oh, you can't even hide, because now they can just pull out a lightsaber wherever you are and try to strike you down. So that's why the lightsaber duel in A New Hope between Ben Kenobi and Darth Vader, Darth, as he calls him, I think the stakes are so high in that, even though it's not that flashy of a lightsaber duel. I thought it was pretty cool. I was pretty excited by that, because when, spoiler alert, Obi-Wan gets struck down and becomes more powerful than he could ever imagine, that I felt it in here. No caffeine. All right, well, then eat a cupcake. Let's see. Anakin, I am the chosen one. Luke, hold my blue milk. Rey, hold my green milk. Luke, squeezing alien milk out of an alien cow. We all assume she reached Ben, but she reached Rey, and that's the only reason why she healed him. Interesting. I haven't thought of it that way, but let's find the beats for Duel of Fates. It opens up really with them stealing a Star Destroyer with, I think it's Poe, Rey, and Finn stealing a Star Destroyer. And that's pretty visually spectacular, and it would feel like a heist. It would feel like a runaway train robbery. To me, that's much better than all of a sudden we're light speed skipping with data from an alien to... we're just thrown in. We're just thrown into Rise of Skywalker. Which is fine. But again, Duel of the Fates really carries over the Last Jedi themes from what I was reading and listening to. I think there are some really valuable things. However, what is your feeling on Colin Trevorrow as a director? Because I didn't really dig the Lost World or whatever it was. United Kingdom Lost World. Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. I thought it was okay. It was fine. There were a lot of silly things. I think that my biggest pet peeve, especially with a movie like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, is that there's enough science there where they go, okay, this is real science, but then we're going to step away from real science and then kind of make up the middle. Like the original Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, they honor actual science and theoretical science. Yet there are some people who write movies, who write sequels, who write science fiction, who they have just complete disregard for actual science. They don't want to honor actual science and then make up anything between. They just kind of make up science. And that annoys me. It really does annoy me, because it shows that they don't have any reverence or regard to or just they don't have any knowledge of how the things work, and they're trying to talk out. They're trying to write science checks that they can't cash. Um, yeah, so you feel me well on that, on the moment in A New Hope when Ben Kenobi gets struck down. That was a high stakes moment. Not a flashy lightsaber duel, but a high stakes moment. And I felt around in an arena, so there's no stakes. You just see a bunch of flashing lights in an arena from far away, and it makes no sense. It doesn't. You don't care about. You don't understand any story that's happening and who's gonna die. You don't care. I didn't care. If you cared, then good on you. George Lucas duped you on that one. In the moment when Rey beat Palpatine, I thought Anakin was powering her. Interesting. In Rise of Skywalker. Wonder if they ditched the heist because Solo had one early on. Maybe. I feel like Rise of Skywalker was a bunch of fetch quests, as they call them. Honestly, watching a lot of the recent Star Wars, and this has something to say about culture. This has something to say about modern culture, movie culture. I really do believe gaming culture is surpassing movie culture. So what's happening is gaming culture is influencing movie culture. Now think of The Mandalorian. The last couple episodes of Mandalorian were great. However, I seriously felt I was watching cutscenes from a video game when he was being sent on his missions. So you got the Mandalorian piloting his ship, little holographic image comes up, and they're like, Mandalorian, for your next mission, here you go, blah, blah, and then a lot of exposition dialogue, and then he goes off on his quest, and I'm like, wow, gaming culture has really started to influence movie culture and TV culture. So when I was watching The Rise of Skywalker, I felt like I was legitimately watching a video game instead of a movie, and a lot of cutscenes. Jurassic World was pretty silly. Predator Raptor and Bryce Dallas Howard in her heels, all the movie. Yeah, I wasn't feeling that. I was thinking, hey, here's my biggest problem with Jurassic World. Bryce Dallas Howard's character, awesome. She runs a theme park. She's a badass. She's cool. She knows what she's doing. She's on top of her game. Apparently she just stands in the middle of a control room pointing at monitors, and that's how you run a theme park. Makes no sense. Anyway, that's not my biggest problem. My biggest problem is her nephews come to visit her while she's working. She's at work. She runs a theme park that's very dangerous and has like horribly dangerous creatures that have proven to be dangerous and have gotten out and wreaked havoc. She's responsible for that. Her sister's like, are you watching the kids? And she's like, bro, I'm running a theme park. I am at work. Stop being upset with me that I can't watch my nephews. By the way, I sent them on like all the rides at the theme park. The kids get to have a free day today at the theme park that I'm running. They're being chaperoned. They can do whatever they want. Give me some like bonus auntie points for that. I mean, come on. How cool of an aunt would that be? But meanwhile, the plot of the movie is trying to get us to think that Bryce Dallas Howard is a bad aunt because she's not hanging out with her kids her nephews while she's at work. And I was just like, I can't get on board with that. She's an awesome aunt if she's like letting these kids go through the whole theme park, just do whatever they want while she's running the damn theme park. Come on. I'd be like, yo, if my brother or my sister were like that, I'd be like, that's awesome. You just showed the kids like an awesome time. I'm not going to get mad at you for not spending your work day with them. So dumb. Couldn't get behind that plot. Or that character arc. What do you feel about that? Yeah. Exactly. The nanny's death in Jurassic World was pretty awesome, though. I like that. It was just so completely gratuitous. She just gets picked up by a pterosaur, not a dinosaur, a pterosaur, and then dropped into that underwater mega something, mega croc. That was pretty rad. Okay. Obi-Wan Attack of the Clones jumps out of the window. Yeah, I saw The New Hope. I have two more movies to show before I die, boys. Okay, let's see. I am looking for some plot points of Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9, Duel of the Fates. If there are some favorite moments from the script that you have, let me know. I was actually very excited to learn, and in my opinion, it seemed like I was way more involved in the unfolding of it. I actually listened to a guy describe the movie plot point by plot point, and I was way more into that than I was way more engaged with a guy describing a screenplay than watching The Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker just kind of washed over me. It was just a bunch of stuff. One of my favorite things, particularly, was the carryover from The Last Jedi. If you remember, Luke's showdown with Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi, when Luke was, of course, the Force Ghost, or not the Force Ghost, the Force projection of himself. Basically, what Kylo Ren remembered Luke as, because that's why he looked about 10 years younger. That was fantastic, because what Luke says in that moment is, if you strike me down, I'll always be with you, just like your father. And it was one of my favorite moments in all of Star Wars. Ben freaks out. Kylo Ben freaks out, and he's like, you jerk. You weren't here this whole time. And, of course, they allude to earlier when Rey and Kylo Ren are having those Force connections. They allude early in the movie. Kylo Ren says to Rey, well, you're not here. The effort alone would kill you. So now, of course, we cut to Luke Skywalker floating, meditating on Ahch-To, and then releasing his Force projection, and the effort alone kills him. Now that really perfectly set up Colin Trevorrow's sequel, Episode 9, or Duel of the Fates. The way he wrote it really does connect to Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi, because Kylo Ren goes to Mustafar in Duel of the Fates. Mustafar being the planet that became Darth Vader, and also has a castle. I don't know if you remember his castle, but it's pretty rad. It looks like an evil place to live. I mean, if you're going to be evil, go to a volcanic planet. Rise of Skywalker actually opens on Mustafar with Kylo Ren fighting a bunch of Darth Vader worshippers, apparently. Mustafar started to cool. There's some iron trees growing up out of the ground. But in Colin Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates, Mustafar is, I guess, still volcanic, and Kylo Ren is walking through the castle, and guess what? He's being haunted by Luke Skywalker's blue ghost. Awesome. How cool is that? This is what I wanted. I wanted to see Kylo Ren trying to fight off the fact that he struck Luke down in a way. Now Luke is always with him, and Luke, throughout the movie The Duel of the Fates, is trying to bring Kylo Ren back to being Ben Solo, and he's also with Rey and trying to get Rey to follow through with her destiny. And a lot of reasons why I love that. Because as soon as I saw Luke die at the end of The Last Jedi, I felt it. I was like, you know what? That actually was an earned moment. Luke has sacrificed himself like he always sacrifices himself. He's always sacrificed himself over and over again. Or at least willing to sacrifice himself, and finally does the ultimate sacrifice. But I was still like, hey, guess what? He gets to come back. He's a Jedi. He's going to be a blue ghost in the next movie, and he could still be in a lot of the next movie, which he wasn't that much in Rise of Skywalker, but it was a good moment. The Haunting of Kylo Ren angle should have made the movie. I totally agree. You think Hamill would have been down to lose all that weight again, the version of himself? Sure. I mean, listen, money talks. And it wouldn't be really up to Hamill. Here's the thing about people in Hollywood with their like losing weight and getting fit. I think Kumail Nanjiani did it best because he's going to be in that Marvel movie. And I don't know if you've seen Kumail Jack Gianni, but that dude is like super jacked. And he admits, he's like, look, I look this way And I'm happy about looking this way. However, I could not have done this had it not been for the biggest studio in the world paying for nutritionists and like building my exercise plan and all these personal trainers on it all the time. So it really becomes like, you're going to have to want to do it, but it's really, 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 really difficult to get there without that kind of support and that kind of help. And I think the thing I love about Mark Hamill is he is in it for the fans, and you really get that sense that he loves to be loved, and he loves that people, and he loves the people who love him. And I think that if people were like, "We want to see Luke Skywalker kicking ass," he'd be like, "All right, I guess I'm gonna get fit." Maybe get fit. I don't think he takes the fans for granted. What if Rey killed Palpatine, became him, and Anakin Ghost would go into Kylo, and Anakin and Palpatine would have epic duel while playing the Duel of Fate song? Whoa, that's crazy. And they're like, what if Yoda turned into Count Dooku, and the Dooku's head popped back on his body, but then it wasn't on his body, but it was on General Grievous's body, and then what if General Grievous became Jabba the Hutt? I mean, we could do this all day. What I love about Star Wars, here's the thing I love about Star Wars, guys. And this is the thing that I think we should all love about Star Wars. In my opinion, you should have my opinion. You've got the other greatest movies, epic fantasy movies of history. Lord of the Rings, right? Incredible movies. Love the trilogy. Love the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. But guess what? Based on source material, based on books by J.R.R. Tolkien, whose son just died this week. J.R.R. Tolkien wrote these amazing novels 80 years ago, whatever it was. And these books endure. The stories, he really spent a lot of time working on the details of those stories. And then years and years later, you can make movies based on them. And you've got to really pick the moments that you want to put in the movies. The thing that's beautiful about Star Wars is it's complete fantasy. It's completely made up. It's on a playing field that is anything you want it to be. It's purely cinematic. It's made for the movies. There's no, in my opinion, there should be no, and there have been no, and there ought to be no other things than the movies themselves. Because the movies, Star Wars lends itself to the medium of film like The Lord of the Rings lends itself to the medium of writing. So I think that Star Wars as a unique visual medium film, intellectual property, if you will, is beautiful because in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away really sets the stage for a fantasy. It's a once upon a time thing. You literally, in the world of Star Wars, in the sandbox of Star Wars, it's an infinite sandbox. You can just say anything. You can literally just say, oh, this guy's a slug, and this guy is a jellyfish, and that person is just made of bones, and they just walk around. And for some reason, Star Wars is so beautiful that you can do that, and we'll just go, oh, okay, that seems right. That sounds about right. Sure, I'll go with it. So the fact that people keep rehashing and going over the same characters really kind of takes away from the beauty and the epicness of a world in which you could literally do anything. You can do anything in the world of Star Wars and will totally be fine with it. What do you guys think about that? Luke did go out like a boss. I totally agree. You can do anything in the world of Star Wars, guys. You can do anything. But what they decided to do in the sequel trilogy is just do the same thing. You could just do the same thing over and over again. And it's unfortunate. George Lucas has the imagination. A lot of people just don't have the imagination George Lucas has. If you look at the prequel trilogy, still imaginative. He kind of rehashes a couple things, which I wish he didn't, but still has a good imagination. The Haunting of Kylo Ren angle, yep. Imagine a haunting of Han and Luke bickering while undermining all his actions. That's the one thing we didn't get in the sequel trilogy was the reunion of all three. Luke did go out like a boss, and for real, it was the first win in a major fight, saber battle, really. That's true. That is his first win. His only win. And he didn't even fight. There was no clashing of lightsabers in that whole movie, except for in the flashback, which is interesting. Still, I like that. We need to talk about the fact that both scripts took a chump's way out and introduced a new, most powerful, big bad rather than the... Okay, good point. I think the big bad you're talking about is the alien that's on the planet. So when Kylo Ren goes into Darth Vader's castle on Mustafar, I think I'm frozen. Reconnecting. Pardon my sniffles. I'm sick. Am I frozen, guys? Let me know if I'm frozen. Unable to connect to chat. Please try again. 1 second. 1 second. I think so. It's still working. Should still be working. I'm back. Anyway, guys. When Kylo Ren goes into Mustafar Castle, I call it Mustafar Castle, Darth Vader's home, he encounters a projection of Emperor Palpatine saying, "Go to the planet and you'll find the guy who taught me," which I would have been fine with a cameo from Ian McDiarmid as Palpatine, but just as a recording. Or even Obi-Wan as a recording. That would have been cool. But he tells Kylo Ren hears what Darth Vader should have heard, which was a recording of Palpatine telling Vader to go to this planet to learn from a guy who trained him. Once he does go to that planet, let's see. Am I frozen? Let's see. All right. I might be frozen. I'm okay with the fact that there is we're still running. I'm okay with the fact that there might be an alien version or an evil version of Yoda, because from what it's described in the script, he's kind of like this amorphous blob. I don't think I'm just a blob. I can't do anything, but here's the secret of being all powerful. Let me teach you. I'm okay with that, actually. I don't think that because there's this really powerful Sith being that he has the ambition to become the new emperor or become the most powerful thing in the universe. I think that he's okay with just teaching the evil ways to people who are, I don't know, just bad. I'm just like, you're evil. I'm going to teach you how to be more evil. But really, you could do most of the work. I'm just going to sit back here and eat donuts and be evil where I'm at. You could protect my planet, and I'm going to watch Netflix, space Netflix, and I'm just going to eat donuts, really. I'm good. But if you want to be evil, this is how you be evil, okay? Like, I'm okay with that. Sorry, just having some weird streaming issues because, technology never lives up to the promise. So, Kylo Ren goes and trains with this guy, and it's a parallel to when Luke was training with Yoda. Cool with that. I think that's cool. I think that Rey is training with Luke's ghost, and Kylo Ren is training with Blob Man with multiple arms. What else happens in that script? Let's see. Okay, cool. I'm active. All right, we're back. Space flicks. He's going to sit there and watch space flicks chill out, eat popcorn, and be like, here are how you get evil. I am too lazy to be the emperor, but I'm going to chill here. There was all this talk about how much Abrams wasn't a Star Trek fan as much as Star Wars, which gave me some hope he'd stop doing slick remakes and slight twists. Godzilla, E.T. Yeah, well, JJ is slick. Listen, there's stuff about JJ Abrams movies that I think are signature. He has a signature style. His camera moves are really great. They're Michael Bay-esque, but better, I think, because I think they're a little bit more thought out. If you look at a J.J. Abrams movie, the camera's always moving, and the camera will come in and spin around everything that's going on. And as it's spinning, it'll catch a moment from each actor, and it'll catch a moment of action, and it'll like zoom in onto something that's they're focused on. And he takes in so much information with one sweeping camera move that there's something to be said about that. A lot of directors can't think that way. They don't have that type of vision. Even in The Last Jedi, if there's one there are many critiques of The Last Jedi that people have. I happen to like it. But the one thing I would have to say about The Last Jedi is there's certain camera moves that don't really work. There's a lot of static shots. Not that they don't work. They work fine. They're just not as intriguing or as thought out. Okay, so cool. There hasn't been any buffering. Thank you for the update. I guess I just like the idea of Kylo just continuing to do his thing. I mean, he already killed the primary mentor and defeated the Resistance mostly. I like the idea of Kylo Ren being the supreme leader and him being the big bad. And in Colin Trevorrow's version, what happens is he actually does not become redeemed. And that was a big, the whole trilogy is like, will Kylo be redeemed after that moment in The Force Awakens? When he kills his father, the whole patricide thing. That, I don't know if that's forgivable, but turns out in Colin Trevorrow's book, it's not forgivable. But I think that would be a good moment because it'll show that Rey sort of failed at redeeming Kylo Ren. It shows that Kylo Ren did not become redeemed. There's no way to redeem him. And let's see. What else happens in the Duel of the Fates script? Duel of the Fates. Colin Trevorrow, though I don't know what happened with him. He just decided to, dare I say it, the script for on fast forward. That's what I call it, which is fine if you like that. If you're digging just getting all the stuff that you wanted to see out of a Star Wars movie, The Rise of Skywalker does that. It says, okay, you always wanted to see this in a Star Wars movie, boom, check. Okay, we've never seen this happen, so check. And it feels like a big checklist. It's fine. It's enjoyable. It gives you all the Star Wars beats. But Midnight's Edge did a good video on this and how the sequel trilogy is not actually a trilogy because all the movies kind of fight against each other instead of... in my opinion, The Force Awakens brings us back into Star Wars, and The Last Jedi brings us deeper into that world. Whether or not you agree with what happened or not, or expected a certain thing to happen, and the opposite happened in every case. The Colin Trevorrow script brings us even further and feels like it finalizes that trilogy. It carries over the themes, it carries over the feeling. I think it would have been a better movie. However, Colin Trevorrow, I don't know if I have that much faith in him as a director to make it a better movie. See you later, Will. Thank you for stopping by. Enjoy starting your car, Kara. We've got a couple more viewers still. Thank you guys for joining us. Well, those are my thoughts so far. If you guys have any other thoughts on Duel of the Fates, I'm going to look at some plot points here. I really do love the idea that they steal a Star Destroyer. I like the idea that basically they're controlling the Star Destroyer with Rey. Rey is using the Jedi mind trick on the crew of the Star Destroyer so that they pilot it and bring it back to where the rebels are, General Leia. General Leia, instead of like executing the Imperial troops, they just take them as prisoners. Here's a cool storyline that they really completely abandoned with Finn. Finn being an ex-stormtrooper, and in the second movie, saying, like, really kind of claiming the fact that he is rebel scum once he defeats Captain Phasma, and she says, "You were always scum." He's like, "Rebel scum." So he has become, his character has elevated to a point of accepting his new identity. And by the third movie, in Colin Trevorrow's version, it would have been really cool, which is what was written in the script, is that Finn creates an uprising of a bunch of Imperial stormtroopers and gets them to join and him and go against the Empire. He gets a bunch of people to defect from the Empire like he did. What better way to resolve that character of Finn than to have him realize his destiny? He individually turned against the Empire. Now, using himself as an example and a leader for the others to follow him and turn a bunch of other stormtroopers. That would have been beautiful. That would have been really great to see. Except in The Rise of Skywalker, he just goes, "Rey! Rey!" And then he goes like this, "Rey!" And then he goes, "Rey, I have something to tell you." And then he goes, "Rey, I never told you." And then it goes, directed by J.J. Abrams. And that's how that movie ends. So Finn did not get his due. There's so many things about this script that were better. Oh, actually, interestingly enough, Kylo Ren's character gets so disfigured by the red lightning coming out of the recording of Emperor Palpatine after they find out that he's not Darth Vader in Mustafar and he gets attacked by this red lightning. His face gets so disfigured with blue veins and stuff that he replaces parts of his face with Beskar. Of course, we know what Beskar is, and from watching The Mandalorian, it is a very powerful metal. Unique to Mandalorians, but he replaces parts of his face. So now Kylo Ren has become so disfigured that he's become less and less sympathetic. So by the end time, he doesn't get redeemed. It makes sense that he doesn't, because now he's so much further from being identifiable as a character. I would have liked to have seen that, because now he would have been just ugly. And we don't like ugly people. We just kill them. They actually have a holocron in Colin Trevorrow's script instead of a Sith wave finder. Literally a Sith wave finder, because they go to the planet with a bunch of waves. Oh, bye, Kara. Finn part is pretty boss. Yeah, so the Finn part, I think, come on now. Like, how cool would that have been if Finn was able to redeem a bunch of stormtroopers and then defect and then rise up against the Empire? That would have felt like an actual type. It would have brought a finality to it, because what better way than to have a small group of rebels influence people under the control of the Empire and then have the Empire crumble from within instead of just fighting against it. Like Rose says, not fighting against the things we hate, but for the things we love. One of the critiques I watched made a solid point. Maybe some of the footage was repurposed from what they meant to shoot and then edited out of context. If you could elaborate on that, I'd like to hear more about that. I think, however, I was saying this earlier, what we got with Rise of Skywalker was within a year. You've got the original Star Wars trilogies, which were 3 years in between. 3 full years to create special effects, 3 full years to write and rewrite and work on making a script that they knew they had to spend a lot of time, hashing through, because what they have to do is create the special effects, and back then special effects took like 2 years, 18 months, 2 years just to complete, because they're all visual, and they wanted to make sure that every beat, every action beat made sense within the story. Nowadays, movies, you can just move things around as much as you want. You've got all this free reign to do whatever you want. So a lot of times the story and the plot comes second to a lot of the visuals. J.J. Abrams, I think he works that way, because a lot of the stuff you say, well, that's a really cool image, and that's a really cool image. But it does feel like you had this image in your head first and then tried to make it make sense in a story. And it doesn't, the images aren't compelled by the story, which is frustrating. So Rise of Skywalker feels like it was rushed. All of the Emperor stuff feels as if it was an afterthought. Does not feel like it was originally planned on. And now we know that Colin Trevorrow's script had no Emperor other than the holographic projection, which was a recording. And I don't know. Not the biggest fan of the whole idea of the Emperor coming back, because it just really undoes so much of what the original Star Wars movies did, which was kill the Emperor. Some of the Rise of Skywalker scenes not making sense, like shuttle transport explosion, Chewie being alive immediately after. Yeah, just no stakes, just killing people and then unkilling them. That's my biggest critique of Rise of Skywalker, is that death means nothing. Yeah, the dead speak. It's the first line. You got the Palpatine comes back. He was dead. I don't know. Nobody knows how he came back. He's back. Literally, Leia, Carrie Fisher, she's in it. I mean, not to be too morbid, but she's in the movie, and she's not here anymore. Chewie gets killed, brought back immediately. The worm, who cares about the worm? But Kylo Ren, gonna die, gets brought back immediately. Chewie, I just mentioned that. Oh, C-3PO, he gets his mind erased, brought back at the end. So there's just no real reverence for ending any of the characters. It's just all very safe and all very Disneyfied, as if you will. I did not think that was the greatest move on their part. But Rey and Luke Skywalker. So Rey just never becomes a Skywalker. They really double down on the idea from The Last Jedi that Rey comes from nowhere. How dope is that? They even have Broom Boy in Episode 9, which probably would have been a scene that just would have been cut anyway, because it doesn't make any sense to bring back Broom Boy. He was insignificant. It was just a symbol at the end of the last movie, The Last Jedi. So I love the idea that Rey comes from nowhere. It makes so much sense in the world of Star Wars. It feels so much better. It gives everyone hope. But now it doesn't matter. You're either a Palpatine or a Skywalker, and the Skywalkers were created by Palpatine. So who cares anymore? Nothing matters. Rey dies also. Yes, Rey dies and comes back too. So you got Rey dying and come back, Kylo Ren being killed and come back, Chewie being killed and come back, C-3PO being killed and come back, the Emperor's back from the dead, and Carrie Fisher symbolically also dead in the movie. So the dead speak. That's basically the theme of this movie. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of The Rise of Skywalker. I think it's fine. I think it's a fun ride. And I think that's all Disney cares about at this point, is creating a fun ride. Creating let's not get too many people upset. Let's not ruffle too many feathers. Let's just create a fun time. People can turn their mind off and watch a movie. Even though we've been invested in these characters our whole life, let's just turn the, paella. Not paella. I don't know. Let's, I'm trying to create a metaphor here. It's hard because I have the plague and I'm dying. They're basically like, we can have lemon meringue pie or just squeeze lemon in your eye. That's a bad one. Doesn't make sense. I think that Disney does not want to ruffle feathers. They want to be Disney. They just want to keep everything, hey, everything's cool, man. I'd say it's more like New York versus LA. New York is just kind of like, hey, F you, man. I don't care. I'm going to tell you how it is. And the people have mutual respect because people tell you how it is. In LA, people are like, hey, man, go easy. It's cool, man. And that's basically Disney. They want you to go easy. Whereas The Empire Strikes Back wants you to go F yourself. Just think about this. The beauty of Star Wars is that it did not ever really conform to the fans. The fans, it got fans, and I saw this other guy talk about this too, and he could have, I can't say it much better myself, but I'm going to try to paraphrase. But Star Wars establishes itself. It's a movie, you go and you react to it, and then you kind of deal with the story as it is. But what Disney has done with Star Wars is it's made it the Star Wars conform to the fans instead of the fans kind of accepting Star Wars for what it is, the movie for what it is, and then wondering what happens next. Fans now expect a certain thing to happen, and they want to have a certain level of service. They want the movies to service them instead of the characters to service the story. And this is a problem with modern filmmaking. The characters have destinies. Character is destiny. Characters inform their story. Their drive is what, if it's compelling enough, is what we're interested in seeing happen. They have a goal, and we want to see them achieve that goal. And if they don't achieve that goal, we want to see how they don't. And it can be satisfying in both directions. Movies aren't like that anymore. The audience dictates what we're going to get. It's not, there is the mindset of give the people what they want, but I don't really necessarily agree with that. I think give the characters what they need. And that will be ultimately what the people want. So you've got the end of the Colin Trevorrow script. Kylo Ren does not get redeemed. He gets killed. And what happens in the end of that? There's Kelly Marie Tran's Rose has a lot of cool stuff that goes on. She actually is one of the central figures of Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9, Duel of the Fates. She reprograms the Star Destroyer's hyperspace drive, and basically, you think Hux tries to get away. They try to map out a hyperspace coordinate thing, and they jump to light speed, but go boom. They go right into the middle of a planet and explode, which would have been a cool visual. Would have been a cool visual, and it would have been compelled, and it would have been a satisfying ending to certain characters. And then Kelly Marie Tran, or Rose, would have had a nice moment of why she's so integral in the rebellion and why she's so valuable. Because look, she reprogrammed and repurposed the hyperdrive of a Star Destroyer. What if Star Wars is crumbling under the weight of being expected to surpass the achievements of every successful franchise that has followed? I don't know. I think Star Wars... I blame Disney and I blame the fans. I don't blame the franchise. I think the fans... I mean, you can't really blame the fans because they're going to react the way they do. But if you just really concentrate on making a good movie and a compelling movie and a movie that serves the story, you're going to ultimately create an enduring thing. But it's not necessarily in Disney's best interest to make an enduring property. They want to just make their money back. So it's a give and take. I think they should take a few years off. We should get more excited. There's talk that Taika Waititi might be developing a Star Wars movie, which I'm interested in. Rian Johnson's trilogy is on the back burner for now. We don't know what's going on with that. I think history is going to prove that The Last Jedi is the best movie in this trilogy. I was having an argument with a good friend of mine, Douglas Beamer. Shout out to Douglas Beamer. Check out his channel. Subscribe to it if you will. We were having a friendly discussion over text about The Rise of Skywalker versus The Last Jedi. And sometimes, some people's, and this is a very popular opinion, which I feel like I have the opposing opinion too. A lot of people are like, well, Rise of Skywalker was us getting out of the hole that Rian Johnson dug. First, I don't think that Rian Johnson dug a hole. I think he actually made a good movie. He made a fine movie that really opens up Star Wars instead of closes it off. Because people's imaginations were very focused on finding out certain answers to certain things that The Last Jedi, to me, proves that were unimportant to the story, to the characters. What's more important is forging your own way. And the movie itself is forging its own way. It's very consistent with its theme. So when you have a movie like The Last Jedi, which is it's a good movie. Just in a vacuum, it's a pretty good movie. I don't like, people don't like what it does. They think the casino thing's dumb. It's kind of dumb, but think, hey, if you're 8 years old, it might not be that dumb. If you look at that movie, a lot of people say, well, they wrote themselves into a corner. And to me, there's no such thing as writing yourself into a corner. If you're a good writer, if you're a good director, if you're a good filmmaker, all you get to do now is create new compelling reasons and new compelling places to go with the story. You don't necessarily ever write yourself into a corner. If you feel like you've written yourself into a corner, then I feel like you've closed off your imagination to all of the myriad, infinite other things you can do with a story and with characters. You've got such ways to. They could have. J.J. Abrams missed the opportunity to actually elevate the series by incorporating The Force Awakens and incorporating The Last Jedi into his version of Episode 9 by taking so many of the concepts from both movies and actually elevating the entire series and making it all contextually good. And that's what good writing can do. And that's what Colin Trevorrow's script, in theory, for just the script itself, felt like it does that way better than The Rise of Skywalker. Rise of Skywalker kind of last minute grabbed a bunch of ideas and smashed them together, and we went on fast forward. What if Star Wars... so I don't think Star Wars is crumbling under the weight of that pressure. I think Star Wars is just crumbling under the weight of Disney wanting to please fans and not create too much controversy because they want to sell toys and merchandise. Feige has moved the line up. I agree that The Last Jedi is the best movie technically, but not a movie for Star Wars legacy fans, but for fans of films and progress. Well, I like it. I think it works great with Star Wars. I think that there are some of the best Star Wars moments in there. A lot of great visuals, a lot of great concepts. Luke Skywalker. I just don't understand the alternate universe for Luke Skywalker. A lot of people, because you got the end of The Force Awakens, Luke Skywalker is being handed the lightsaber, so he recognizes that. He sees Rey. He's at the Octu. And then in The Last Jedi, he tosses it away. And to me, I get it. People are very unhappy with that. But what is Luke to do? Is he supposed to just grab the lightsaber and go, all right, let's go destroy the First Order? Like, he's going to take some convincing. He's hidden for a reason. He literally says in the movie, why do you think I went to the furthest, most unreachable place in the galaxy? Why do you think I'm here? Because I didn't want to be found. I came here to die. This is the point. You've got to convince a dude who went to a planet, isolated himself from the Force, cut himself off from the Force. You have to convince that dude to come back out of hiding. It's not going to be easy. I don't know what fans were wanting because there'd be no movie because he's obviously the most powerful. He would have just come out of hiding and then taken care of the First Order, and then it would have said directed by Rian Johnson or whoever. After 10 minutes, it would have been over. Been like, oh yeah, I'm Luke Skywalker. I will kick your ass. However, it makes a lot of sense to me that a hermit in hiding, is going to take some convincing to come out of it. And he still didn't, because he projected himself off the planet. He was still a hermit. All right, what do you got, Will? What do you got for me? Some of the things I love are Luke training Rey as a blue ghost, Luke trying to influence Kylo Ren as a blue ghost, trying to bring him back to the light side. Kylo Ren just keeps going deeper and deeper. Mustafar would be cool. I love the idea of them stealing a Star Destroyer, creating an uprising. That makes sense. Make them crumble from within. And would have been very satisfying, I think. But there's so many stories you can tell about Star Wars, but I just don't get how anybody's going to even care about any Force user unless they're a Palpatine, Skywalker, or a Yoda. So it's just baby Yodas and Skywalkers. That's all we got in Star Wars. If you're one of them, you're good to go. If not, screw you. I mean, I did like I'm one with the Force is with me. What if he said, last time I saw a saber, I had my hand attached. People kept saying Luke's saber, but it was Anakin's. Yeah, we never got the answer to how the hell they got that lightsaber back. Last time we saw it, it fell through Cloud City. It got sucked up. Maybe it fell into the clouds, actually. Because if you remember, Luke falls out of the little trash chute, lands on the antenna, and then he looks down and his hand and his lightsaber just go flying down. So he lost those. Maybe they were picked up by a droid. I don't know. We never get the answer to that. I don't know why JJ was so obsessed with having that be such an important little MacGuffin. Or, I don't know. It's just it's a lightsaber. Why does it have to be that particular one? They could have found a lightsaber and been like, what's this? But again, JJ, I think, just directs based on visuals and ideas and strings them together, kind of like Zack Snyder creates these big tentpole movies. Maybe that's the way to do it. Maybe you don't need to have a story anymore. Anakin, Vader, yeah. Let's see. Last time I saw a saber, it had my hand attached. You know, yeah, I mean, he could have said that. But then what? Look, I think symbolically it makes sense that he just chucks the lightsaber away because, or at least he could have handed it back to her or something. But the point it's trying to make is that he doesn't care to be involved in Jedi stuff or the rebellion or anything like that. But he realizes his family comes first. He goes and visits, in the end of The Last Jedi, he goes and visits Leia. He goes and tries to redeem his nephew. Under Leia's blessing, which is like, listen, I can't bring him back. I know my son is gone. So you can go kill him, I guess. Love The Last Jedi. I think it's the best movie in the trilogy, movie-wise. Rise of Skywalker is fine. The Force Awakens is fine. I think that JJ, not the best choice for these movies, but Disney wants to go with a sure thing, and JJ has just reinvented Mission Impossible. He reinvented Star Trek. He reinvented Star Wars, and now he's going to go reinvent the Warner Brothers DC EU. So JJ's the guy you call to fix, but I don't think you call JJ to maintain. He's a quick fixer-upper, not the maintenance guy. I'd love it for that. Yeah. I don't know. I think The Last Jedi did cool things with the story, and Rian Johnson dared to do cool things with the story. And that's the last time you'll ever see anyone dare to do cool things with the story from Star Wars, because he was rewarded and punished in equal measure. So that's too much for Disney to deal with. So they're not going to allow that to happen anymore. I think the best we'll get are episodes of The Mandalorian here and there that are great. Taika was good at that. I think if people liked Taika for doing what he did with Thor, they'll allow him to do what he does with Star Wars, but they got scared with the dudes who were originally directing Solo, who were kind of funny, who would have done like a Taika type movie, but they couldn't deal with what they were doing with Star Wars, so they fired them and rehired Ron Howard to just make Solo just about that. You know, Solo's a movie. It feels like a movie. You watch it, it's like, oh, that was a movie. You don't go, oh, I hated that, but you don't say I loved it either, which is kind of sad. There's something to be said about loving and hating or whatever you want for a movie. And with that, I hope you loved this episode of Aristotle Full Throttle streaming. I am going to pass out for the next 3 days. I don't know how I'm surviving right now. I probably had like 3 different flus in the last 3 different weeks. But, it's fine. I'll be okay. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe to this channel. And once I get to 10,000 subscribers, if you comment on my videos, you qualify to win a PS4 plus a game of your choice for PS4. So do that. Please do that. Also, support me on Patreon. I'll appreciate that. The Last Jedi had a lot of subtle moments that I appreciate as much as those 3 incredible epic moments. Yeah, there are some incredible epic moments in The Last Jedi. One of my favorite moments in The Rise of Skywalker is Ben pulling the lightsaber from the Force out of his ass. That was amazing. And with that, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm Aristotle, Full Throttle, your bro in the know with the fro. And I'll see you later.